Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're speaking with Randall René. Randall, it's great to have you on the show.
Brant, it's great to be here. I love this show.
So, Randall is really, I'd say, a veteran of the telecom wars. He is a telco industry consultant now working with VertiGIS. He is also the founder of Waypoint 33, which is an advisory and technology enablement firm that helps telecom, broadband, and public sector organizations transition to AI-driven autonomous network operations. And so, we're going to talk to Randall today about everything that Waypoint is working on. We're going to talk to him about the state of telecom. We're going to talk to him about what VertiGIS is up to. It's really great to have you here. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit about you, Randall. Tell us a little bit about your background in the telecom space and how your experiences have really kind of shaped your perspective on how you approach problems today.
Brant, that's appreciate that humbling setup. I've told people I've been in telecom long enough that I've lost all my hair in it. The yeah, I've been using comms networks. I think back to when I was in the military. That was really when I first started discovering what it meant to use a radio network for communications. To connect people to what's important in their life. Love to say that these days, but it's true. You need communications these days to really do just about anything. And throughout my career, I've been a technician. I've worked in central offices. I've worked as a planning and design manager for one of the largest carriers in the U.S. Moved into G.I.S. application development and tool development around construction and design and engineering. And then ultimately, prior to founding Waypoint 33, I was one of the industry solutions directors at Esri that was really specializing in GIS, location intelligence, taking all this information and marrying it up to location and putting it on a map. And that's where, I really got to know the team at VertiGIS well, fell in love with what they are doing in the industry, which we'll talk a little bit about here.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be able to do what I love best and help solve some of these problems that the industry is facing with a technical consortium of people and partnerships of companies that we can come in and add a depth of bench, or whether it's a strategic or tactical approach that they need to take on some of these big goals that we always hear about. And we'll talk also about some of those today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you work with these giant telecom operators. In the U.S. market, we all know them well. But when you talk to these operators, certainly you're in a very dynamic industry. It seems to me that there's a new G every couple of months
Yeah.
that we're
Yeah.
talking about. But, what are the biggest operational and technology challenges that you see these operators facing today?
It's one that we've contended with majority of our careers, and it's simply put as having understanding before you are going to make a decision, take some action, or finish up a job. People need to know information before they take on a task. These days, it's much more complex for us, right? With the volume of work that we have to do, many industries have to do more with less people, faster than ever before. It's what it feels like, that you've heard lots of that kind of talk. So now you see AI initiatives and others coming around. But look, there's people that are like you and I, we're at our homes or at an office and we're spread out more than ever, but you need this cohesive foundation that allows people to make decisions as fast as possible. That is the biggest thing that I see. You mentioned the large operators, but look, I work with a lot of small ones as well.
Yeah.
In the US, there's over 4,000 operators.
Yeah.
Globally, there's, just as many more. They all have the same problem. The problem just scales with the size of the network and the amount of people.
Well, I mean, with all that's really almost that foundational layer. I can see the challenges there. But then we add on another layer, an
A whole bunch of
application layer
technology.
in a way, where we talk about like the fragmented systems they have for anything
Yeah.
like planning, the documentation, customer service. What does that fragmentation mean and what kind of impact does that have on these telcos?
Yeah, fragmentation today looks like these operations and business support systems, these tried and true legacy systems businesses have used, like their biller or the customer metrics or customer satisfaction, profitability, earnings reports, GPS locations of their vehicles, the kind of permitting that's needed out in the field. All of these are in business systems that historically, many of them were siloed. They don't talk to one another.
Mm-hmm.
That causes delay in workflows. Many of the legacy workflows also are built around, my team does one part of the work, then you compile that information, send it to the next team, and then the next team does their part, and it keeps moving forward. Those workflows combined with legacy systems that are siloed are just tremendous amounts of technical debt for organizations, and that immediately translates into a loss in productivity, a loss in profits, unhappy customers. So these days, these systems, they need to talk to one another. They need something that pulls all that information together. In which, for me, when I was at Esri and for prior to that, G.I.S was one of those tools that allowed you to do all this work to build a purpose-built solution, right?
Yeah.
So that's really what's at the crux of many of these efforts for AI or autonomous networks, self-healing networks.
I mean, I've spoken to some of your colleagues, Randall, over the last couple of months, and a lot of the topics that have come up, we've touched on things like the work that's happening with cloud infrastructure or AI infrastructure, or really kind of how people can apply like that VertiGIS Neo approach to things.
Mm-hmm.
But, I find that the things that operators highlight shift and change. I've had some experiences working with a lot of telcos myself directly. Tell me a little bit about how some of those topics like AI, cloud, VertiGIS Neo align with what the operators are coming to you with. Like what's top of mind for them?
Yeah, I think it revolves around 4 Ps, really: people, productivity, profitability, and the planet. Everything we do in the telecom industry aligns up to those big 4 buckets. And when you think about productivity and profitability, it's very attractive to say, okay, I need data centers so I can offload, or cloud infrastructure so I can offload a lot of this expense that my business has to maybe these type sites. Let them take on that storage or burden of operating. I need to be able to leverage tools like AI to increase productivity and decision making and moving work forward. So you see a lot of work of the latest and greatest, the cutting edge technology, really attractive to the C-suite or the decision makers of the business. But in a lot of ways, you also see within, where I come in, or others like VertiGIS, we're dealing with customers who are still trying to do some very basic things within their own organization or their teams. Because let's think about how telecoms are built. Many of them are a conglomeration of previously separate businesses. They acquire a business, they acquire a provider, they have a business system that used to work well for that group, and you don't want to touch it because it's working. Now, a lot of telecoms have these spot fires, if you will, of multiple business systems designed to do the same kind of thing. So they have this challenge going where they need to use these new methodologies, these new systems, these cloud-based architecture, AI tools, etc. But they got to cross that chasm. They got to get from where they're at in their legacy workflows to be able to increase productivity, profitability, take care of the people and the planet along the way.
Now, we talked a little bit before the show about this topic, this next topic, and honestly, I got to tell you that this next topic kind of pains me a little bit because I'm experiencing this challenge myself.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about a topic like AI, people will say something like, "Hey, data matters. Got to get the data right." Why is having that kind of structured, trusted network inventory data such an important foundational element for these operators?
There's quite a few shows throughout the world that I've been to, even over the last year, where AI is being pushed, but also in the same rooms, you're hearing conversations about the 80 to 90% of AI-based projects that fail.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the root cause of why they fail, it's because of the data. It's because the data wasn't machine readable. The data wasn't standardized. It wasn't the authoritative set for the organization. And what that might look like for a telecom is network architecture, for instance, your network design platform. What's in your business system compared to what's in a maintenance or construction technician, their trucks, compared to also what's in the heads of key people. I had a fellow that could tell you the status of every fiber in my network just out of his head, and I'd ask him all the time. I say, "Is that actually in the records?" He's like, "Well, I got to do some updates." So
Lord.
that stuff is really in any business, but you got to say, okay, well, if I'm going to launch an AI initiative in my business, is
Yeah.
my data standardized? Is it machine readable? Is it accessible? Is it the only source? And do I have this mindset within my business that we are going to live and die upon this network, this network record, and we have to make sure it's updated because it's tied to auto provisioning, it's tied to customer metrics, it's tied to self-install kits.
Yeah.
There's a lot that rides on it.
No, I know. We got to get that right, obviously, before you can see any type of benefits. I also think that the thing that people don't really talk about is that there's a sense that, like, okay, once we get all the ducks in a row, it will be okay.
It'll just be easy.
Oh, no, 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 no. Like, there's
Yeah.
always a duck running away. So you got to pull that duck back in and make the system run smoothly. But clearly, there's a lot of stuff going on. Well, when you work with so many telcos and they all have ambitious leaders, it's a very competitive field
Hmm.
to play in, and they're trying to modernize. They're facing challenges of like the various complexities of their own systems, disruption, and they're worried about those things, but they want to move things forward. What are you seeing are the habits of the organizations that essentially succeed? Succeed in really kind of mapping out that evolution of their operational systems.
One of my favorite athletes or sports personalities was Jerry Rice.
Ah,
He had a phrase, and I'm gonna say it the way that I like to say it, but it was really around the mindset that he would do today what others won't, so tomorrow he could do what others can't.
mm,
That's the mantra or mindset that I'm seeing in, call it a learning based organization, an organization that's about failing forward fast. The organizations that are able to do today what others can't is because they're embracing the change, they're structuring around it, they're standardizing, they're taking the time to say, okay, look, yeah, it's hard expense for my business to just get in and standardize data and to prep for machine readable, standardized, authoritative data sets. But if I do that now and my competition isn't, I'm going to be able to take care of, society. So there are organizations that I've seen that are doing some incredible things, and they're realizing also that while we are really in this infancy of AI, right? It's I'd say even though it feels like it's running, it's changing so fast
yeah.
that these organizations have adopted this mindset that they're going to take it, they're going to implement it in a phased approach, but they're also going to make sure they're agile in being able to adapt with what's coming next.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there will be opportunities that will appear for the telecom and fiber operators.
Hmm.
And, when you look out there, what do you see as those big opportunities for them over the next few years? And really, for the ones that want to embrace those opportunities, what should they be doing in terms of preparing themselves, prioritizing for that next phase?
One of the things that I've talked with a lot about with operators, and it's something that I don't think a lot of people really think about is, it goes around the expense that they have in power consumption in their networks. They leveraging AI tools around their networks is extraordinarily attractive to organizations as they look to be able to model customer usage and those metrics of where customers are so that they can keep them happy, they can keep them connected and make sure their services work wherever they are, whenever they need it, while also making sure that they can the network power consumption or use green energy solutions, etc. All of those initiatives, tying it back to VertiGIS, it requires a foundation of network truth that you can see where your assets are. You can pull all this data in and you can now model against it. So you've got this push of making sure, well, they've always done it, but to reduce expenses in the business, They're real close to being able to leverage AI tools for so much of this. Then on the other side of it is customer satisfaction as competition grows is key. Many areas have more and more overbuilders. There's more and more providers, even in rural areas now where you've got fixed wireless or a couple of different satellite solutions, even LEO type networks, low Earth orbit networks. So the growth in telecom is, it's fiber deeper, it's connectivity, of course, deeper into communities. But it's also really pushing as the companies need to make their earnings, how to control their expenses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of challenges ahead, but certainly I would venture a guess that Waypoint 33 and VertiGIS can play a role in coming to some of these solutions. Randall, it's been great talking with you. If someone wanted to learn more about really everything that we've been discussing today, from the foundational elements for what these telcos should be thinking about to
Yeah.
some of the challenges that they face and some of the ways that they could be thinking through those challenges, where's the best place to find you?
To find me, in my role is all about connecting people to what's important in their lives. Not, that's what I do for a living as well as telecom networks do it. But it's waypoint33.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, of course. And then VertiGIS, of course, reach out to them, take a look at Connect Master and Neo products. It's incredible to see what they're doing in the marketplace. There's a reason why I partnered up with them. Having been a planning and design guy, I would say that there's no one out there that's modeling the both physical and the logical networks the way that they are. So take a look at my site, their site, and just start asking questions. Nobody in telecom knows everything, and it's a total team win. And to do that, you got to have a depth of bench like what we can provide to really help you succeed. And
Yeah.
We're here to help people do that.
Yes, and I love the Jerry Rice quote because
Oh,
I mean
thanks.
I think that's kind of a wonderful balance between kind of the hard work and you need that
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
things that no one else can do. I really
Purposeful,
love that.
dedicated, hard work. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice idea. Well, Randall, thank you so much for being on the show. We've been speaking with Randall René. He is a telco industry consultant working with VertiGIS. He's also the founder of Waypoint 33, which is an advisory and technology enablement firm that helps telecom, broadband, and public sector organizations transition to AI-driven autonomous network operations. He has over 25 years of experience in this space, and you can see how he talks about it. He knows it. He's lived this ecosystem, and he obviously has worked from an industry perspective as an industry solutions director for telecommunications at Esri, where he worked with operators globally on network modernization and geospatial strategy. Randall, thank you so much for being on the show, and we look forward to having you back.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me.
Cheers.